preparation in the live show is mostly in making the music, saving it in such a way that I can actually change things live. So I usually have a sort of backing track, which is basically like if you have a track of me, I just mute the drums and the synthesizers, but you have still the bass and the kick drum and the sound effects. And this way you still have the arrangement, like when the beat goes out, when the beat comes in, because it's really hard to estimate live how much time you're spending on a track. Sometimes I found in the beginning, like 10 years ago when I was playing live, that if I really liked something, I was playing for 20 minutes the same thing, and this way you still get forced to think as a DJ and really think in terms of mixing tracks. So one part is in making music, then transfer it into my workspace for the live sets, and then the most important thing is to play a lot of live sets. Like I'm really happy that I'm back at touring now for a couple of months, and every weekend I can play for hours for an audience, and this way you really train yourself to be sharp, to be in the moment, to get the focus you need, and you also find out what works and what doesn't work, because even though I've produced a lot of music, sometimes you still get surprised by a track that you think is not that good, and then you play it out and people really love it, and then suddenly you also start to see the track different yourself. Or maybe when you have an idea that the idea itself is maybe good, but the track around wasn't that good. Then live I changed a lot of things, and I come to a new version that I then listened back to in the studio and adjust the track again. So the interaction with the crowd is super important for playing live. I like both clubs and festivals, but I think one thing that I like a lot is like big sound systems with a lot of power, and usually on festivals the sound system is a bit bigger than in a club, or at least different, because in a club you're in a confined space, and at a festival you don't have walls, so you don't have room reflections, and the sound is really direct, and it's a really good challenge to get your music working nicely for a super big crowd and on a big sound system, because the bigger the crowd, the harder it is to get everybody's attention. And for me it's always a really nice challenge to get, even if you're playing for 15,000 people, to get everybody in the party from front to back. And then when that works, it's really a really magical experience. Yeah. Well, I like both. I think my best sets were all-night sets, up to 12 hours even. But of course it would physically be impossible to play every weekend 4 times for 12 hours. So that's why I also like the 2-hour set. And what I learned from the all-nighters is to, at some point you really get into a flow, like in the zone, and when you make your own music in that moment, it's really important. And I tried to take this experience, to take it also to my 2-hour, 1.5-hour festival sets, which was a big challenge, but I'm really happy that I learned this from the longer sets. And actually now my approach is to start with improvisation when I play a festival set, and this way you get forced to be in the zone, which works really good for me. So I try to get the experience from the all-nighters to get it also in a miniature version on the festival. That sounds cheesy, but it's too much to pick one moment. There's been so many good things, like playing at Awakenings, Time Warp. Actually, I was in Montpellier not so long ago in France, which was super nice. Like one of the first festivals, or maybe the first festival, real festival since the pandemic that I played. And yeah, the vibe was so good. I have so many good memories of shows where I played that it's really hard to pick one favorite. But I have to say that since the pandemic, also before that, but especially now, the last months, every show has been really great in its own way and like really its own vibe. And that's also really nice for me, because then the music I create is also every time really different. It keeps it super interesting for me also, yeah. Well, when you begin as a performer, there's many bad shows. Yeah, that's part of it. If you learn something, you know, like 10 years ago, you obviously make some mistakes. I remember in the beginning, because I make a lot of different types of music, that sometimes if something wouldn't work, then you're talking like 10 years ago at illegal raves, that you're sort of searching for something that works, and then with the live set you can really switch like styles in seconds. So you change the beat from a hard techno beat to a house beat just to see if the audience responds to that, which is obviously not a good idea. It sounds really crappy, so I did learn from that. But yeah, it's part of your development as an artist. It's the same with work, same with sports. And when you start your shit and you learn from that, and then from there you try to get better and do your best. So it's a part of the experience, and you learn from that. I would really love to play with Carl Cox one day back to back. It's one of my favorite artists, and I think also back to back with Charlotte de Witte would be really insane. I think the music matches a lot. Who knows, one day.